make it there and can make it back.
Salutations and shit, folks. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite travel podcast, Travel and Shit, where I, your host, D. Carey, have an experiential conversation about the nuanced ways that travel intersects with regular life. Welcome back, folks. I'm glad to see that you are here. Thank you for those of you who have already taken the listener survey. I greatly appreciate you taking a few moments to engage with me so that I can get to better know you guys and be sure that the new projects and initiatives and collaborations that I'm working on are in alignment with some things that you guys may be interested in. Also, don't forget, I have an announcement coming up. Hello, welcome to June. We are here. I have a special announcement that will be, I'll mention it on the podcast at the end of the month. However, if you would like to know what it is, I suggest joining the newsletter. This way you will find out in your inbox what the exciting news is. And it's not like, I'm giving away pencils or stickers. I've been working on something behind the scenes, and I'm really excited to share the development, not just the development, but to share what the project is. So I am quite excited for it, and I am looking forward to sharing that information with you. And you'll have me sharing the information with you sooner if you join the mailing list, the newsletter. I don't send many of them, so feel free to sign up and not feel as if you will be bombarded with content. So there's that. This plant over here, if you're watching on the YouTubes, really, really trying to die on me. I just keep sprucing her up, trimming her down, getting rid of the dead leaf tips. I don't know if she needs more light, less light, more water, what, but she's not liking it here. But what we do like over here is travel talk. So this one, I'm not even going to say that it's bad news. It's just information. So I'm actually canceling my first trip. We were supposed to head to Mexico on Saturday, and it actually turned out to be a little bit more of a stressful undertaking than the two of us expected, but not in very basic, if you will, travel ways, right? So you see all the girls in Tulum, you see, everybody is going to Mexico. And so foolishly, we assume that, relatively easy. If Canada is letting, us in, then it shouldn't be a problem. Mind you, there is no problem getting to Mexico. It was actually a relatively, I won't say inexpensive, but first of all, we weren't going to Cancun or Tulum. We were going to stay in, I want to say Puerto Morales. And shout out to guest in the 30s of the episodes. I want to say Gabby from Paxlight, one of my favorites to recommend you guys check out. She had visited the town a couple weeks back, and I saw her mention such on, I don't know if it was Twitter or somewhere. However, she had mentioned that Puerto Morales is a really nice small town, and it's what Tulum was before Tulum became like the popping destination. Binksy says hi, by the way. I don't know if you heard the baby in the background, but she said it's been a while. But we were very interested in going to a really small town, and I'll get on that a little bit later. So that was the plan. We literally were just gonna head out. I've never been to Mexico. I had a trip planned maybe 2 years, well, obviously before the pandemic. It was maybe 2018. I was on my way back from Peru, and I had the perfect layover in Mexico City planned. I was getting in at like 6 a.m., 6:30 or something like that. And I was going to book a day tour, like a little walking tour, not a little walking tour. It was going to be of some ruins. And my flight was maybe 8 o'clock that evening. So perfect day. Had it set up, and my layover got essentially canceled because my flight was delayed by like 9 hours. So my 12-hour day was now like 3 hours. And so one, wasn't enough time to do the tour that I wanted to do. And two, 3 hours is not enough time to leave the airport, if you ask me. So I ended up just sitting in the airport and I ate and was quite disappointed, but such is life, right? So anyway, we were planning to go and literally just lay on the beach. Small town, a block from the beach we were staying, and that was the goal. That was the intention. However, boyfriend's cousin is getting married on Friday, and we are really looking forward to that wedding. And on seeing that we needed to get COVID tests to return to the States, we decided that it was best not to risk it. So we were supposed to arrive back on Thursday. Plenty of time, right? Wedding on Friday. But then we were thinking, we've done a really, really good job of dodging COVID for like 2 years, 2.5. Like neither of us have had, at least we don't think we've had COVID, right? And it's not that catching COVID means you're a bad person or you didn't work hard enough, but we did our part. We pretty much stayed inside. We don't really do too much random socializing. We're not in like, very dense areas outside of, the jobs that we have to work. And we mask up when we go into buildings, wash our hands, all those things, right? So we're taking the necessary precautions and we're doing our best not to be reckless. So far, so good. It's worked. Plenty of our family members have gotten sick. And we've just been lucky because at this point, there are people that are really pushing the limits and just, obviously, we see how you got here. And then you've got people that don't leave their house more than, once a week for the obligatory grocery run or to give themselves some semblance of mental peace and seeing close friends or something and then end up getting sick. So it's kind of like, having illness doesn't make you a bad person. But we realized that it was not exactly in our best interest and that's not even the best way to put it. We decided that it wasn't worth the stress to us to go on the trip and be worried the whole time through. And so we decided to pull out. We, weren't, honestly, the importance of this and more so the reason why I'm doing the episode on this and not just like mentioning it, talking about something else, because a couple things came up. One, it is a really good example of the importance of doing all the research that matters. So there are tons of different things that you can research in terms of planning a trip, right? Where you're going to stay, what you're going to do, where you're going to eat, how much it's going to cost, all those things. Safety. What we didn't do in advance was double confirm. We assumed that we didn't have to take a COVID test to get home. But even if we did, we didn't, at least me. I can only speak to my thought process in the beginning of this. We booked the trip like a month ago. It wasn't even like something that we had like planned in steadfast. Like I want to say the middle of May, we knew we were going to go to Mexico in June. Mind you, we had only booked the Airbnb on like Monday, Tuesday, and then, I think it was Saturday. It was either Saturday, Sunday, or like Monday, Tuesday that we booked the Airbnb. Like we literally just finished booking the accommodations and the flight. The flight we got, I want to say, I looked at the insurance that I bought on it, and I want to say it said May 11th. So mid-May. That being said, importance of doing the research for things that matter. We had looked into things to do. We touched base with another guest, my homegirl Denise, who actually does live out in Playa del Carmen. And, we had basic information. We were putting things together, but we didn't confirm whether or not we would need to get tested. And For us, that was the deciding factor. We did not want to risk getting stuck in Mexico before such a major life event for someone that we care very much about. So it was a responsible adult thing for us to do. We made the decision and then we changed our mind. And I talk to you guys all the time about pivoting, right? So for us, honestly, not only did we not want to miss the wedding, if we tested positive, because testing positive for COVID was very much so a possibility. That's just something that you have to realistically live with. As safe as you want to be, you can still get COVID, because keep in mind, us getting COVID isn't even the only way that COVID can play a role. Look at all the flights that are being canceled. Plenty of flight staff. We're in another surge. You, depending on where you get your information, different places are speaking out or about the matter a little bit differently. My news source happens to be Twitter. Pulse to the streets. And from there, once you hear one thing, I rabbit hole, and then I start looking for more information. I find, different links, and so I vet the sources. I'm not going to just go with, someone posting something from Daily Mail UK or something like that, or the Post. I'm not going to err on the side of a more salacious or a more tabloidy kind of publication. Give me your MSNBCs, give me your CNNs, give me your Time, give me your Washington Post, your New York Times, Daily News, et cetera, right? So COVID hasn't gone anywhere. Pandemic hasn't gone anywhere. And not only am I hearing about more people at work that are getting sick, I'm still seeing that all these flights are being canceled in huge numbers because there's not enough staff. People are getting sick all over again because, as many people would, as all of us wish were true, it's, we wish it weren't here, but it's still here, and it's still kicking our fucking asses. And at this point, even if we were to dodge it, what if the flight crew for one of our flights didn't, and we miss our flight back home because the flight gets canceled? So now we have to scramble to rebook another flight to try to get home. We don't know if that's going to incur any cost to us. And also, when does that get us back? The wedding is supposed to be the next day. So for us, that was, those were two very important reasons. I mean, in hindsight, I wish that I would have, and pro tip for future planning for you guys, consider now, right? So I wish that I would have taken the week after the wedding. I personally didn't want to really start a vacation on a wedding. I would rather finish a vacation on a wedding, especially because it was on a Friday. In hindsight, I wish that we would have, because it's more so my vacation. He's a little bit more flexible in terms of work because he's remote. So me, I'm not remote. I have to show up to my job. That being said, in hindsight, I wish I would have scheduled my vacation the week after the wedding so that we wouldn't have to worry about, God forbid, anything goes wrong. I've got time and leave. My PTO situation is pretty solid. It'd be a pain in the ass, but you get over the stress of having to navigate and add extra days or whatever. But if I get COVID, if he gets COVID, doesn't matter if I'm home or abroad, I can't come in. If my partner has COVID, the person I sleep with at night, I can't come into work the next day if they have COVID. So it wasn't a matter of, whether or not, as much as we would like to avoid it. For me, I was, we're both secure in keeping our jobs. However, financially, that's a strong toll. Now we have to pay for another week in Mexico. Sounds really romantic to be stuck in Mexico together, but when you got to fund that and you don't have the funds to do that, just randomly day of, this isn't like booking 3 months in advance when you're getting the best price. This is, hey, I know that you need me right now, so I'm going to charge you like you need me right now. I don't want to end up having to, move accommodations and stay someplace that is, less than enjoyable, or someplace that I don't necessarily feel safe, or someplace that just isn't as nice, just because if it's in the budget, you know what I mean? Also, I don't want to navigate healthcare in a foreign country. I don't want to navigate possibly being, the person that exposes plenty of other people to being sick, because now I have to go buy Theraflu, or I have to go buy, something, because I'm assuming that Amazon Prime is not going to be very, it ain't the same Amazon Prime that I have here in New York in a small beach town in Mexico. So these are things that we were definitely considering when we decided to go ahead and cancel the trip. Also, there are no masks anymore on planes. So as much as, and let me be clear, we weren't worried about going to Mexico and Mexico getting us sick. That wasn't the issue, right? Part of traveling during a pandemic, which we are still in, is learning to, or mitigating your risks, right? So for us, traveling during a pandemic looks like going on shorter flights and not being on a flight for, say, 14 hours, right? It looks like going places and making sure that we are staying in accommodations, or that our travel plans actually allow us to still be somewhat, I won't necessarily say secluded, but outdoor spaces. Thankfully, neither of us are partiers. We don't get that type of fulfillment from large social gatherings. Shout out to the girls that do. My heart goes out to you guys. I know that this has all been a really difficult time, especially for those of you that love big parties, mass gatherings, and that really just brings you joy. The same way me sitting on my couch on a rainy night like this with my partner watching a movie or just talking brings me joy. So I get that everybody's bag is a little different, right? But our entire plan was to go sit on the beach. That's it. We don't need crowds. We can cook for ourselves, or we can go get, a meal here, a meal there. Keep it cute, right? So part of traveling during a pandemic is mitigating your risk, making sure that you are not unduly putting yourself in harm's way when it is unnecessary. So what else did I have on here? So it's not about necessarily Mexico getting us sick, because there are no masks on planes. Like I said, we could do everything the right way and actually show up, even if we tested before we got to Mexico, which we don't have to do. I intended to take a COVID test anyway. Even if we were to test beforehand, say on Wednesday, no, today's Wednesday, right? Say we were to test on Thursday or Friday before, and we were leaving Saturday. If we were to test on Thursday, get your results in enough time so that I could leave the country with peace of mind and clear conscience, knowing that I wasn't bringing, COVID, I still have all of Friday possibly to pick up COVID. I still have Saturday morning to pick up COVID. It doesn't take 2 hours, 9 hours. Like, it's not a work shift. You don't clock in to get COVID, right? Like, you show up wrong place, wrong time, or the wrong person, wrong time, or it just happens. You don't need a week in an area to get sick. You can get sick in any window. That being said, with masks not being on planes, which doesn't make fucking sense. If you are requiring people to test and prove that they are negative coming in from other countries, but not from domestic locations, with our numbers being a complete and utter fucking shit show as they are, why would you get rid of masks? You're just mixing a bunch of people who have been tested for COVID with people who haven't been tested for COVID. So what is the point in requiring people to test for COVID if you are not doing the precautions to keep those people that are COVID free from getting COVID and then spreading COVID? It doesn't make sense. Like, you would think, I'm not even going to dive into it because you can't fix broken, right? You can't fix stupid. Actually, that reminds me of another guest, Black Kintsugi. I remember something fruit fly. I don't remember what number episode that was, but I want to say it's a Japanese art form. You know, the one where they use gold to mend broken, I guess like ceramics, vases, clay, and stuff like that. So there is a thing. So I don't want to say that you can't fix broken, because clearly some people do. But you can't fix stupid. You can educate people, but clearly that doesn't always work, because look at us now. Look at the world we're in, right? That being said, we also ran the risk of getting COVID in transition before we even got to Mexico, and then getting sick and then testing positive like on the way home. So it's not getting sick there. It's the fact that we could have gotten sick at any time prior to actually being in Mexico and still then be stuck in Mexico. And that's like a really huge financial strain to put on us. And it's just like, we also decided, like, why would we put our relationship in that kind of precarious situation? Why would we willingly do something that could possibly strain our relationship, right? Finances. We would end up having to book an additional week in another country. If he doesn't go to work, he doesn't get paid. So that would very much so put us in a financial situation that we don't want to be in. And we have control over that. So we decided it wasn't really like the best option. And it's one of those things where it's not necessarily, because you have to it's like one of those weigh your pros and your cons. You do the two different lists kind of thing. It's like the reason explaining all of our thought process is to kind of like give you some direction to go in terms of whether or not, or more so in alignment with your decision making. Not to say do it like me, right? That's not where I'm going. But I'm trying to detail our thought process just so that it makes sense, so that if you have to navigate deciding whether or not you should go on a trip, these are the steps that I have made. And I feel very comfortable with my travel experience. Like, I don't feel like I don't do my travels the same way other people do. But in the way I travel, I feel very confident in my, navigating decisions to do one thing, to not do another thing. And my partner's mom, like, boyfriend is really with the shits. He's smart, and he absolutely gives incredible input when I may be a little indecisive about something. So we're a great fucking team, especially when it comes to navigating trips. He is so good with like really choosing restaurants and foods. And trust me, y'all are going to thank me for his skills at some point. You'll know why soon, but I got something coming out for y'all, and you're going to love it. I'm pretty certain. Especially my New Yorkers and people that are going to necessarily, like, at some point be visiting the New York area. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. So, we decided Mexico wasn't a go for now, and that sometime in the future, when we didn't have such an important event to be at, we would be more willing to risk the trip. Like, we would be more willing to take that risk and travel if we didn't have something that we knew like we couldn't miss. What else did I have on here? Right. Okay, so the next part that I had that I wanted to touch on is, what type of fares are you booking when you book your trips? Thankfully, I didn't go the cheapest route. We booked with JetBlue, and I did not book Blue Basic. I booked Blue. The Blue fare with JetBlue allows you to cancel your trip. Now, you don't get a refund. However, you will get travel credits. So the flights were $807, or was it $809? It was a little bit over $800. Let's just say $800. So it was $800 for the two of us, round trip to go to Mexico. Not terrible. So we've got the $800 now in a credit. What I decided or how I decided to frame that, because I would have much motherfucking rather having $800 in pocket. I would have rather, like, our household have $800 toward bills, towards all the adulting things that we have to do, right? We're not rich. So I would have much rather that money in pocket. However, how I've decided to lean into this development, if you will, is this can definitely go towards a trip in the future. It's like an $800 off coupon, if you will. So we've already picked 2 areas, and we're leaning more so towards one than another. Personally, I'm excited to go to both. We're between Ireland and somewhere in Africa. Probably South Africa, but also maybe someplace West Africa. It would be based on which country was the most affordable. However, with Ireland, we knew that between Northern Ireland, and Scotland, one of those would be relatively inexpensive, more inexpensive than the other 2 to get to. And we would just choose there and then navigate, either mainland Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Ireland, and maybe take like a ferry over to Scotland, leave the trip from Scotland. So all that to say, we've got like a really cute big trip that we would want to do, but realistically, price is what is kind of keeping us out or keeping us away from that trip. So at this point, it's like our dream trip, right? To maybe do Ireland or Africa someplace together. And I only say Africa and not a country because we haven't pinpointed and we haven't decided which country we would want to go to. It's more about, we know we both want to go. We know that West Africa and South Africa are where our attention lies at this point, but we hadn't decided an area yet. But that being said, it's kind of like forced savings. So at this point, if I see flights that are, say, $1,000 for our dream trip, or another $900 for our dream trip, paid, we only have to pay the balance. Or if I see a $1,500 trip, like between the 2 of us, round trip there and back, we're $800 there. We only got to pay that balance. I'm with that. Like that, it makes it more of a manageable thing. And now that we've got so much time in advance to kind of consider it, I know the next window that I'm looking to request time off from work will be come fall, winter. So when the summer's done, I'll have already gone into it knowing, okay, bitch, like November is when these flights is going to be where we can use the credit to travel to these destinations. So it's kind of giving me a little bit, even though it's a little disappointing to not go on a trip that I was looking forward to in the moment, is giving me an opportunity to kind of look forward to something in the beginning. So consider, if for any reason you decide that you need to cancel, for one, make sure you book a fare that you can cancel, because I'm one of those worst case scenario people. It's not a doomsday preparer, but I'm not there yet. There's no fort or underground bunker stocked with all the things. But when I can, with ease, make a small decision that may pay off in the future, these are the things you do it for. Because it's not that anybody got sick, nobody got hurt. It's just we changed our mind. And I like that flexibility. So I make sure that I book a fare where that is an option. So be sure to book a fare that is an option for. I did also get travel insurance, but to my understanding, because as many times as I've read through the bullets, and I'm sure I've read the details of the policy at least once, because I've purchased from, I think it's Alliance, multiple times before. But I will say that the minutia of the plan, I don't really know. I just know that I can cancel, but my window to cancel is much more gracious in terms of a full refund. I want to say 15 days from purchasing it. And like I said, we purchased it like mid-May. So I'm pretty sure, I know for certain that the 15 days has come and gone. but I may still be able to get a refund since I haven't actually taken the trip. But again, I'm not sure. I have to call the number. So at this point, I have to decide. I want to say I paid maybe like 65, 75. I have to decide whether or not. And you would think all the time I spent saying like, we're not rich, that I would make a phone call to get $70 back. But realistically speaking, I might just take the L. I don't know. But that's also something to consider. I also paid for insurance. So now I have to go backtrack. I found the number easily in the email in terms of being able to contact them. So I'll give them a call at some point and see if I can get that money back. And by some point, I mean probably tomorrow. But I'll get around to it. So there is making sure that you do the research that actually matters. Don't forget that while accommodations and, how you're going to get from the airport to your hotel or your Airbnb and, the excursions and activities you're going to do, that's important research to do, right? But consider, especially that we're in the middle of a pandemic, that you look into whether or not your testing needs to be done for COVID. And don't forget that COVID testing isn't the only testing or aren't the only things that you have to navigate in terms of foreign destinations. Don't forget those visas. Don't forget those immunizations. Some countries still do require certain immunizations and for you to have a visa while visiting the destination. So make sure you're still doing that research and making sure to find out those pieces of information before you go someplace as well. Next thing that I touched on was making sure that you could book a fare that you can adjust or change. The last thing you want to do is spend upwards of $1,000 and not be able to get that back, whether it be in a cash refund or even as a credit. Next thing I mentioned was consider realigning or shifting your perspective on the canceled trip. So at this point, it's not necessarily a canceled trip, but a trip delayed. So we might decide to go to Mexico at some time, maybe do, a long weekend at some point, and where we may not have been as inclined to spend the long weekend money. Because look, Juneteenth is coming up. I'm off on Monday. We might decide, fuck it. Let's just go someplace nice that weekend. Let's do, LA for a couple of days, or, maybe we do, Tampa. At this point, we've got the $800 in the credit, so we could even decide I wouldn't necessarily spend $600 for this, but we got it in credit. It's a really good time, and something else is actually happening at that point. I know I really want to hit up a supernatural convention someplace, so maybe that just sparked joy. Maybe we'll book it for that. This way we do a Thursday, Friday someplace, come home, Sunday morning or whatever. Something to look forward to. So if you have to pivot, and if you're really like, oh, fuck, I don't have this cash back in pocket, fight the air. Consider it's just a pause and that you can add it to something in the future. This can be a quick trip that we decide, hey, I don't mind spending a little bit more than I necessarily would have because it's already in credits. Or this can go towards a larger purchase. This way, the larger purchase doesn't have to hit as hard. It doesn't have to be as large a purchase because you're not spending as much of it all at once. So it's kind of like a savings account in terms of travel credits. They actually do call it a travel bank. So I mentioned the fare. I looked into the making insurance back. Oh, and so to finish and loop it together to close out, we're going to take a road trip because I ain't giving them days back at work. I will not be there next week. So we decided that we're going to take a road trip and we are going to visit one of my cousins. I'm going to see the kids, see my, I won't say favorite cousin, but top two. I've got I love all my cousins, but I got a top three, maybe top four. I have 4 favorite cousins. I won't say who they are. I love you all, but I'm definitely going to see one of my faves and her kids and her husband. And I'm looking forward to that trip. Haven't seen them since January, since Grandpa's funeral. So it'd be nice to see them on actual exciting terms, happy terms. Gonna hit it up with them, and then we're gonna do a really cute little beach town, some place on the East Coast. Really cute, sweet, easy. We stay in the confines of our own germs in our own car. Still haven't gotten the radio fixed, so that's going to suck. But oddly enough, like, we talk a lot when we drive, and the car, like, the cabin's but so big in the car. Put the phone on the what do you call it, on the thing. Like, I have one of those phone mounts in the car that goes to the vent, because I am not for putting things on my dash. But put it up there, or we share the iPod. What do you call it? The AirPod. I'll put one in, he puts one in, and we're good to go. So we're going to pivot. We are definitely taking a road trip. So I will definitely have, a Virginia story to give you, because I'm pretty sure we're going to do Virginia. We might do Baltimore. We might do DC. We don't know where we're going to stop yet, because we'll figure it out. We got time. But so canceled trip doesn't have to be a canceled vacation. We going someplace else. And I'm still looking forward to that trip just as much as I was looking forward to Mexico. My cousin got a pool, so I'm really excited to see the pool and the kids. But it's a pivot. It's a pivot. This isn't the first. This isn't the last. And honestly, the way I look at it, it's just like, this is something that's important to my partner. This is something that's important to someone that is important to me. Things that are important to him are inherently important to me in a lot of the cases. And it does not give me any smoke. It does not pain or burden me to, and this is me speaking for me, it doesn't bother me to consider my partner's feelings. And this was something that weighed very heavily on him to decide, because he absolutely didn't want to disappoint me, but he also didn't want to disappoint his family. And I don't want to disappoint his family, because I care about his family also. And I care about him. So it was something that I didn't decide to make rocket science of. I didn't beat myself up. I didn't beat him up over the decision. It was like, you know what? It's a good fucking point. I like your cousins. Let's not risk it. So it's another one of those, while travel is more than vacation, and I tell you guys all the time to be intentional with your travels and to check in with yourself and decide what it is you need in that moment, what your spirit needs, what your heart needs. This is what my partner needed. And I guess inversely, it's what I needed. I enjoy being able to take care of him in ways that are easy. I'm not the manual labor girl. So in this way, I can be of service to him. I can support him in not making this something that is, rocket science. I don't have to hem and haw and nag and go back and forth, and maybe we can do this. And I had no desire to kind of plant a seed of, well, what if, or will probably be good, or splitting hairs, middle ground. It meant more to me to align in that caring for other people. And in that moment, it was very intentional for me, and it was a check-in with self, and it was just, I'm not stressed about it. So not a lot of times, I mentioned that to kind of give you the impression, or to place on you, that even if you have to make a decision that on the surface, right, without you thinking about it, you assume that you would likely be very upset about it, consider it. Tap in the same way you tap in while you're traveling. Tap in pre-trip and ask yourself, what means more? What is of value to me in this? Is going on this trip more valuable than being able to thoroughly enjoy the trip? Because you can go someplace, but how many times have you gone someplace but then didn't enjoy it? And I don't mean in terms of like travel and stuff, right? But like going to maybe a movie theater, not a movie theater in particular, but go to see a movie that you were hype about, and it was just because you were hype about the actors or the actress or something about the movie, and then you get there and something about it just wasn't what you wanted. Or you go to a restaurant, you have a preconceived idea of what the food's going to taste like because you've seen the pictures and all the people are raving about it, and it's not your cup of tea. Just because you envision something being one thing doesn't mean that's what it's going to be. So consider what the intention, what is the vibe, what's the feel that you're going for. I wanted to go have a great time with my man. I can do that anywhere. So why make a big deal out of something just because it is something that I may have assumed prior to the event placing itself on my lap the way it has been placed? Prior to that, I would have assumed that no way I'm going to cancel a trip. I didn't spend all this money. I didn't book this. It ended up being a lot easier than I expected. So if the idea is presented to you that maybe this isn't a good time to go, or that maybe this isn't really like the best idea or the best trip or destination in particular, open your mind. Open your mind to the consideration that something else can be even better. So I look forward to updating you guys about our most recent pivot and letting you guys know how the road trip goes. If you are going to be taking any road trips this summer, don't forget to tap into, I want to say episode 187 or 188. I did a really great breakdown of how it was episode 188, road trip readiness. I broke down all the steps that I take to prep for a road trip. So that's a little guide that you can use should you need a little bit of assistance. And I look forward to letting you guys know how Grace does, and Grace is my car, how Grace does on the next road trip and letting you guys know how that trip actually goes. All right, y'all. I am going to sign off on this one. And I hope that left you guys with a little bit of, I hope that gave someone a little bit of ease in terms of something like a trip cancellation that they may be needing to navigate. I hope that falls on your spirits well. So I'll see y'all next week and possibly from Virginia. Someplace. They ain't gonna be home. All right, y'all. Oh, my little plant that could. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.